A warm welcome to another edition of the Magpie Circle podcast, live tonight. 3 points from Saturday, 3 goals, 3 straight wins. What's not to like? I, for one, went home happy on Saturday evening after the 3-1 defeat of Weymouth. There's no hypocrisy from me here. A win is a win. Your thoughts, please, on our age-old debate about result versus performance levels. Here's another hornet's nest to discuss tonight. The playoff final will be in London, but not at Wembley. It's the venue of the 2012 Olympics and home of West Ham, the London Stadium. Happy or not? Let us know. And would you like to see live video streams of games on Saturday afternoon? It's a debate the EPL are having this week. Would you like to see that happen in the National League? Although hopefully, of course, anything the National League decide won't be applying to us next season. And who will be joining me in going to Dover for a third time this season? In his press conference this afternoon, head coach Ian Birchinall said anyone going for a third time deserves a medal. I'm on my own at the minute, hoping to be joined by Chloe Page later in the programme. She's currently stuck in a transatlantic airport immigration queue. All will be revealed a little later on, we hope, when she can join us. So please get in lots of questions and observations because I'm going to have to talk a bit tonight. Max Seth says, welcome evening all. Win's a win, 3 points, all that matters. David Shorter, only thing that matters is results. See you at Dover. And I'll let you into a little secret. It's not really a secret. But when Ian Birchinall was doing his after-match press conference on Saturday, he did bring up the fact that he watches some podcasts and some YouTube video channels. I wonder which ones. And he said, I know there is a big debate about results being the be-all and end-all. And Ian volunteered that performance levels matter a great deal to him. Clearly, you need a result or two, but it's very important to Ian in the way that the team plays. As I say, chuck in your thoughts and views. MFOL says, I would say performance levels point towards more sustainable results. However, at this point, I don't really care. David Shorter, only thing that matters is results. See you at Dover. Chris Jordan, evening all. Jurgen Halligan, this time of the season, 3 points is the goal. Thank you, everyone, for chucking in all these observations. It makes it a lot easier for me until Chloe's able to join us. Max Seth, yeah, we'll give a plug for the coaches. Coach leaves at 1:45 tomorrow. Can't wait for the journey down. 1:45 leaving. That you'll be home much before 2. That is a long old trek, isn't it? Steph Marnick says, evening, Paul. Hope you're well. Looking forward to going to Aldershot on Saturday. Be good to see you if you're there. I'll be taking the boy Zachary as a good luck mascot. Steph, if memory serves, makes the journey up from Worthing, so that's not too bad for him. Bellham down in London, hello, and are you worried about playing Dover twice, home and away? Let's get a bit more interaction. So Saturday, 3-1 Weymouth. Who was MOM? Who was MOM for everyone on Saturday? Sponsors went for Sam Graham, I believe. It reminds me of my old days at Leicester, where the manager would always ask at an away game, he said, right, who have they given the man of the match to? Home team. And I said, well, what's that matter? He says, just tell me. Whenever it was a defender, goalkeeper or whatever, the manager would then make mention of it in his after-match press conference. The reason being, he would say, well, look, the home sponsors think their man of the match was a defender, so we must have caused them a load of problems. You know, little insight into how they do these sorts of things. So Sam Graham went the sponsors. Jurgen Halligan says, Wootton for me, holds up play good and defending from corners. Got his, was it 18th league goal, 21st first class goal of the season. Not sure if you've seen, he will be out of the trip to Dover. Ian has said this afternoon that he wasn't able to train earlier today. He came off as a bit of a precaution on Saturday, so he is out of the team tomorrow. Who would you like to see lead the line in the absence of Kyle tomorrow night? Doesn't miss many games, does Kyle? Very, very, very few indeed. David Shorter, Graham's pass that led to the got one goal was probably the best pass we have seen this season. John Collins, where the final is played is rather academic, as we won't be there. Nothing like a bit of optimism. Luke Riedel says, bit of a worry having Kyle out. Sure, his naysayers will realise what a big loss he will be. Max Seth says, tough one for man of the match. Graham's two incredible passes definitely did him justice, but Wootton led the line very well and scored an impressive goal. In Birchinall, Palmer for me, he's probably won more MOMs than I would think any other player so far this season. So who do we expect is going to be lining up tomorrow? You would think, on the face of it, that it would be an opportunity for Cairo Mitchell to lead the line at Dover. Gets a goal, puts himself in the frame, doesn't he? Which is exactly what Jurgen Halligan has just said. Chance for Mitchell to prove himself. David Shorter says Eli for Kyle. Do we think Eli can play the lone striker up front? He's kind of played wide left of the midfield, pushing forward in most of his games this season. Empol says, yeah, I think it will be Cairo. Chris Jordan, Ruben as centre forward would be interesting. John Collins replies, having said that we won't be, wherever we play the playoff final, we won't be there. He says, I've watched not since 1975. So realism trumps optimism. Well, John, I've watched them, I think, when my dad first took me, because I was born in 63, since about 1968. Although I can't remember much of the 68 season, if I'm honest with you. And I see there is no reason at all why this group of players should not be at Wembley. Nigel Cameron says Mitchell has got to be given a chance. Jurgen Halligan says Eli is better playing wide and cutting in. It's kind of the role that Notts have traditionally used him in this season. And thank you everyone for chucking all these observations in. It's making my life a little bit easier while Chloe battles through immigration. Here we go, some more. Bellum. Now, yeah, because Bellum's very useful for us tonight because he's based down in London. This is what he's got to say about the London Stadium. It's okay, not ideal for many fans of two teams in getting there. I think you'll have to be there early to avoid queues. I prefer Wembley or the Etihad. Ruben to score against Dover for me. Paul Smith, Cairo Mitchell hasn't even been in the squad recently. Eli came on in that role, although I agree he is better from the left. I think for someone like Dover, Eli can do a shift up there and cause some havoc. Chris Jordan, Mitchell should realistically be up top in my opinion. Nigel Cameron, 1963, a good year for the Roses. I'm sure I should know what that means. I'm afraid I don't, Nigel. You'll have to enlighten me. I think my parents used to tell me wasn't it the winter of the massive freeze. River Trent froze over and everything. You could walk across at Trent Bridge, believe it or not. I'm sure someone older than me will tell you if that was true. Chris Gosling, Mitchell has zero match sharpness. Too big a risk to chuck him in. Cyprus ref, Cairo, I think, will lead the line. Eli cannot play as a target man despite his size. Mfal, maybe Roberts at attacking midfield, Namane on the right and Sam on the left and Ruben up top. Ian Birchinall, and we can debate this a little bit more later on. If Wembley not available, surely Villa Park would have been better with where most teams are located, likely to make the playoffs. Ballum, who you see playing in goal? Yaros, how is Czech Yaros doing? Could he one day play for the national team for them? Will be interesting to see with regards and obviously we're running before we can walk. I'm not sure whether you have to apply for extensions of your loans, and that obviously affects several players that we have, Ballum, who are on loan. Jaden Richardson will be in that category. It depends on the exact terms of the loan as to whether you have to reapply to the parent club to extend the loan for the playoffs. Chris Gosling, I don't care where the final is as long as Notts are in it. Chris Jordan, I detect a drip of sarcasm here. Let's play the final at Hampden Park. It's about as convenient as West Ham and a more interesting trip. Max Seth, it would be very interesting to see Eli and Cairo up top together. It won't happen, but it would be interesting. Well, you never know. You never know, do you? Okay, let's talk, because I know it sparked a lot of debate. The issue of a playoff final, and for a moment, right, clearly we are in contention for the playoffs. Clearly we are in contention to move it to play in the final. So the statement came out early today from the National League. There seems to be a degree of shall we say complete clarity as to whether Wembley was available for this year. There's the Women's Euros taking part. There is the Nations League campaign, although England aren't playing at Wembley. Now, I was talking with Lee Curtis about this earlier today. So the EFL playoffs, about a week before, are all taking place at Wembley. But there are no further football matches in June at Wembley until I think it's the final of the Women's Euros or England games in the Euros till July. There are some concerts taking place in June. Now, whether the build time for the concert season at Wembley is such that there's an exclusion zone, the way the National League have phrased it is that Wembley is unavailable. Now, my two penneth, I don't mind the London Arena, London Stadium, call it what you will. I think it's an entirely neutral venue. And we all bang on about London being the most inaccessible place in the world. Well, we wouldn't have been complaining if it was at Wembley, because we kind of all wanted it at Wembley, didn't we? I mean, the travel trick to get to, I'd say West Ham's ground, Olympic Stadium, London Stadium, call it what you will, from either St Pancras or King's Cross, it takes 8 minutes. And you get the high speed line that pulls into Stratford International, and that takes 8 minutes from King's Cross or St Pancras. That brings you out the backside of Westfield Shopping Centre, and you walk round into the ground. So I don't necessarily think location is a major issue. One of the pluses, I believe, why the National League were quite keen to have it at that stadium is that there are no issues with capacity. I mean, you tell me what you think. I think if Notts played Wrexham, for the sake of argument, what do you think the crowd would be? I think it would get my words out. I think it would be 50,000. Now, that narrows the field down for a lot of Premier League grounds, most of which are not available. You're getting into that point of June of remedial work that most clubs embark on, certainly in the Premier League. There are some other venues that are being used for UEFA Women's Tournament Euros. So, I also don't necessarily buy into because all the clubs are northern based, we've got to have it at Sheffield or Villa or whatever. If you're Dagenham, if you're Boreham Wood, I mean, I know it's unlikely, but you don't know. You don't know. So I think after Wembley, I wouldn't have, which clearly that should be where it's played. I don't have a major problem with it being played at the London Stadium. It's a genuinely neutral venue. We'd all be going to London if it was at Wembley anyway. Yeah, I don't think it's such a major issue. Now, okay, so some thoughts coming in here. Is the FA Trophy at Wembley? Is it after the end of the season playoffs? Ian Birchnell asks, and there's a correct answer coming from somewhere Dale Pikett. The FA Trophy final is the week after the end of the season. So we're not sure at Maidenhead. The following weekend, the FA Trophy final is at Wembley. Now, whether the FA have a bit more sway over getting games at Wembley because it's the FA's competition, not the National League's, remember, I don't know. What do we think the size of the crowd? Paul Smith, I can't see Notts taking more than 15,000. The allure of Wembley would have maybe taken it higher. What do we think Notts would take? We're now well and truly running before we can walk. What would you take to a playoff final? I think you'd take more than 15. I think you take a minimum of 20. I think you take a minimum of 20. Chris Jordan, can't imagine 50k, 30 to 35k would seem more likely. Ballum said, well, hang on, we'll pick up Ballum in a minute. Max Seth, the ticket allocation will be interesting. I can't see more than 35,000 fans in total. Clearly, to get above that, you need two big teams. But I think Notts and Wrexham, you will be much nearer to 50. Nigel Cameron agrees 35,000 seems realistic. What's happened to all these Notts fans? These Notts fans who say we've got the best team we've had in years. The club's run better than it ever has been. We've got the best players in the National League. We've got the best manager outside the Football League. And then all of a sudden, no one wants to go to a playoff final to get back in the FL. Jurgen Halligan, we had nearly 13,000 for a league game. Can see another 5,000 on top of that. Ian Birchnell, you don't know, Paul, but for me, if not Wembley available, I'd play it in the Midlands. So Villa Park, subject to availability. Ballum says, I call it Olympic Stadium and the nearest station is Stratford. Yes, hopefully no train problems on the final day. And Stratford is the only station for the stadium. London buses go to Stratford also. Chris Gosling, we struggled to get 10,000 for the Bradford playoff final all those years ago, and that was 2 divisions higher. It was, I think you'll find, it may be 2 divisions higher. I suspect our average crowds that season weren't any higher than they are this current season. It's a long time since we've been able to travel to a game of this magnitude. Phil Adcock, I like one of the players' views on their thoughts of playing at the Olympic Stadium. I think Notts will take 20 to 25,000 for the final against Solihull Moors. Ian Birchnell, Solihull get to the final, they may sell 2,000 tickets. Their support is atrocious for their position. Never let it be said, Ian, when Boot was on other foot, and you go back a long way with me, Manchester United, Liverpool, Arsenal, Tottenham used to say that about us when we were in the top flight of English football, Boot on the other foot. So it's all about the 11 men and head coach or manager on the pitch. Gary Smither says Park at Loughton and the central line in. Max Seth, yeah, another degree of sarcasm. How many Forest fans will go as they got us the National League record attendance? Smiling emoji. Okay, that's kind of, I think we've done that debate fairly at length with regards the London Stadium. Kind of lots more to be done just yet, however, to get there. Another story to debate. Let's get your thoughts and views on this. Streaming. Quite a lot of us got used to watching the stream of matches during lockdown when the rules were relaxed and you could watch live streams of games because we couldn't travel. So the EFL this week are actively discussing changing a long-standing ruling that means you can't show games live at 3 o'clock on a Saturday. Now, what that means potentially is that clubs, through their iFollow, or whatever iPlayer system that they have, can stream games home and away. So, for instance, if you can't get to Meadow Lane to watch a game, you could pay a tenner, for instance, and watch the game. Likewise, if you can't get to an away game, then you can pay a tenner or whatever it is. A lot of fans enjoyed the opportunity for those streaming games. I think even this season we used one on a Friday night, didn't we, against Wrexham in trophy match, I think it was. What do we think? Would you want streaming to be available for Notts matches home and away, or would you be concerned, as some clubs are, that it would detract from revenue streams for the club? Ultimately, clubs will look at the sums and the figures and work out whether it's in their favour or whether it's against them. So, for instance, Bradford City have said they support it. Mark Palios at Tranmere has come out today and said they wouldn't support it because they think it would negatively impact the attendances. So, what do we think? Would you want Notts to stream matches, or do you think it could actually end up costing the club money? Let's have a few thoughts on that. David Shorter, I believe streaming is certainly worth trialing for a season, especially away games. Jurgen Halligan, just the away games, not the home games. Chris Jordan, all Dover games should be streamed to save fans wasting a journey. Ian Birchinall, streaming is a good idea as long as the home team gets the revenue. Pete Bond, streaming is great as long as Stell and Charlie are commentating. Nigel Cameron, away games streaming would be good, especially midweek away games. Steph Milek, from a selfish point of view, I'd like to have streaming for home games as someone who lives way too far away to attend every home fixture. Chris Gosling, how come Weymouth versus Wrexham is being streamed tomorrow night? Well, it's not a watershed, not watershed, it's not a protected Saturday 3 o'clock. I imagine, this is supposition on my part, Wrexham have agreed to pay a sum of money to Weymouth that protects Weymouth from estimating, for instance, how many Wrexham fans would have travelled. And they'll come to an agreement on a sum of money, that then means all Wrexham fans can watch the game, I'm guessing. Okay, there'll have been some form of financial agreement made between the two clubs. No Neck Raman says, I enjoyed the stream during lockdown, but you can't beat being at the stadium. I bought a season ticket based on what I saw. Very good. If you could just stream away games, then I'd be tempted to pay to watch. Paul Smith says, no to streaming. Makes it easier for the casual not to go. Atmosphere will be poorer. Max Seth, we used it against Altrincham in the FA Trophy. Because Notts would use the BBC commentary, it's a great idea. But I would prefer a larger attendance at the game instead of a stream. Chris Gosling, Dover stream was atrocious. Think I'd rather travel. Ballum, Dover matches a must win and get the 6 point for 2 games. Absolutely, Ballum. Ian Birchinall, streaming wouldn't stop me going to games, but means the rare game I can't make, I wouldn't miss. Steph Milex has charged the same amount to watch a home live stream as a match day ticket. It's interesting. Chris Gosling, that sounds fair, Steph. Ian Birchinall, so it means Wrexham fans in Hollywood can watch tomorrow. No money an issue. As we can see there, it's kind of an emotive issue. I guess the challenge is, unless you can develop technology, you can't really have streaming only for like away games for Notts, because ultimately, someone at home is somebody's away is somebody's home. So unless you can somehow get geo-blocking, which again still doesn't stop it, I'm not sure how you can do that. And I think this is all part and parcel of the debate that the clubs are having. And if you boil it down to the common denominator of does it affect me positively or negatively, clubs fundamentally will not vote in the generic interest of the league. They will vote in their own individual interests, and then it comes down to a majority view. However, I do think, and I don't think the National League are discussing it just yet, but they'll probably look quite closely at what the EFL decides this week. I think that there is a good debate to be had. I think, as Ian was saying, one or two others were saying, look, if Dover was streamed tomorrow night, it wouldn't affect my travel plans. I would go. But I appreciate people are not complete nutters like me, have the time to be able to do it, and probably more importantly, have the disposable income to be able to do it. So I think it's certainly something that needs to be looked at, and like you say, possibly a trial period to see whether it does adversely affect games. You know, it would certainly help everyone who's an anonymous subscriber to Notts County Mad, wouldn't it? Because none of them go to the games, and they don't get that out of their stares, do they, by their mother most of the time. So I suppose they'd all be straight on it. But anyway, having alienated the already alienated Notts County Mad anonymous numpties, let's move on to another debate. Dover, right? Who is going to Dover tomorrow? Okay, far away. Who is going? How are you going? How many are going? Shafeetab says, you'd have to pay me to watch a stream of Cairo Mitchell. Now, come on, let's be positive. David Short, I know 5 nutters just like you, Paul, including me. Well, I think Atco has a bus off him every week, doesn't he? I'm sure his coach is going. Has his coach already gone? It probably went today, didn't it? But I'm sure it'll be down there. Ian Bertram says, if the EFL makes the switch to streaming, guaranteed the National League won't. Chris Gosling maybe offers streaming for midweek games only. Yeah. Ian Birchnell, harsh, Paul, but fair. I don't know what he means by that. Max Setters, I'm going on the coach. Yes, 145. Remember you saying. Ballum, apologies for bringing politics into it. I have to be a bit wary on that. With the cost of living being more, yes, it is going to cost more for normal people to attend matches. Can fans buy tickets on the night away to Dover? If you want to go, Ballum, yeah, up on the train. We're all paying. I don't know if it's cash on the turnstiles, but anyway, it's on the turnstiles. So yeah, you just pay as you go. Jürgen Halligan, unfortunately not going to Dover. Petrol cost is too high, as is the diesel cost for that matter, I guess. So it looks like not too many of us, even of our Magpie Circle flock, are heading down to Dover. So Max Seth is going on the coach. Ian Birchnell, I'm travelling tomorrow, leaving work in Coventry at 3 o'clock and travelling back afterwards. Back at work for 7:30 in Coventry the following morning, travelling on my own. There's dedication. Dale Pikett, not me, but I know some are going from Leicester there and back on the train. They get back at 1:30 in the morning. Yeah, I'm going down from Newark tomorrow on the train, and I've booked into a Dover travel lodge for something like £47.50. I should be able to get the VAT back. I just hope my accountant or HMRC are not listening, whilst they wouldn't be too happy with me claiming that as a business expense. Okay. Chris Gosling, have you checked the weather forecast, guys? Well, you'd like to think we'll be all right, wouldn't you? You would like to think we will be all right. Okay, that's Dover. I think the consensus is not many, even of our flock, are going to be making the trip down. David Shorter, I know 4 of us will be there tomorrow. That's excellent. Right. Let's have a little look back. Saturday, Weymouth. What do we reckon? What do we reckon Saturday? As I said to you earlier in the programme, I go home happy. When we win a game of football, I'm a happy bunny. Doesn't matter if we've been battered for 89 minutes, scored in the 94th, daylight robbery, go home, 3 points. And I'm not going to say, change my spots in any way to suit an argument in terms of how I apply that. So I went home very happy. We heard Ian's comments after the game. He spoke about he thought the performance levels dipped at certain points, wasn't necessarily overly happy with the performance. Do you go home? My views. So let's have the views of the flock. When you go home after Saturday, we've played a team who are second bottom, who are going to be relegated. We've beat them relatively. We scored 3 goals, beat them relatively comfortably, but had some pretty bad spells in the game. I think it's fair to say. What do you think when you go home? Are your celebrations muted because we haven't played as well as we should have done? Give me your thoughts after a game like Saturday. Here's a few. Jürgen Halligan, happy with the win. Some of the passing, though, left a lot to be desired. Chris Gosling, it was great that we started off at such a high tempo, but definitely thought complacency set in. Shalfitab, I agree, Paul. I think momentum we need before the playoffs, not necessarily performances. We only need to get results now, then turn up for 3/2 playoff games, in my opinion. Max Seth, completely agree with IB analysis of the match. Amazing 30 minutes, poor 10 to 15 minutes of the first half, great 10 to 15 minutes of the second half, but win's a win, move on to Dover. Ian Birchinell says, good in spells Saturday, but not others, but I'll take 8 more 3-1 scrappy wins. He adds, I'm always happy after a win, no matter how it comes. 3 straight wins, still seventh. Hopefully tomorrow we can rectify that, and a victory tomorrow guarantees us of going up to 5th. I think I'm sure 1 or 2 people will correct me if I am wrong. A few more comments before we develop that line. Paul Huskisson, I was happy with the win, especially Wrexham and Halifax both losing. Now then, does Paul Huskisson want to make an admission that he refused to own up to in relation to Gary Johnson and a selfie that was taken by a member of our flock at Torquay 2 weeks ago? Let us see now whether Paul Huskisson is prepared to own up and fess up. We'll see. Keep an eye on the message boards. No Nick Raman, there were moments of brilliance, but the energy went when we were 2-0 up. Should have scored loads to build confidence. Chris Gosling, 5th is achievable. Ballon, with the remaining matches, not to want a playoff spot. Yeah, I think we will, Ballon. Max, we can go to 5th, jump Chesterfield on goal difference. That's my interpretation of the table also, Max. Chris Jordan, although we can technically get 85 points, I'm going to have to admit the title's gone. Nigel Cameron, 80 points overall, should make 5th, possibly 4th. Dale Pikey, yes, 5th if we win, and only 4 points behind Halifax. Jürgen Halligan, 5th tomorrow night, both on plus 23. Well, we are at the minute, Jürgen, but if we win, our goal difference will therefore have moved forward by at least 1, which would mean we would then go above Chesterfield, is my interpretation of it. I mean, and people have already started to answer the question there a little bit. Where do we think we're going to end up? We are still 7th. We can go 5th tomorrow night. Dagenham are getting a few points here and there. You would like to think we can't not finish in the playoffs. But it's amazing how one result in your favour and another couple against you completely skews our perspective of the table. What for me surprised me was when Stockport lost to Yeovil on Saturday. Had Wrexham then won in the 5:20 kickoff, they would have gone to within 4 points. And those two teams still had to play each other. When you think that the run that Stockport had gone on, I am sure they must have let out a huge sigh of relief when Wrexham didn't get the win at Woking. But it kind of does show you. I mean, I'll throw it out there. Do you think, if not second, because Wrexham are still piling the points on, is third still achievable? Do we think? Looking at the fixtures that we've got, I've gone on record many times as I don't think we'll win all of them. Equally, I don't think we'll drop too many points. Max Seth, fourth or fifth, top three is set as it is, in my opinion. I'm not so sure. I think third is still possible. Duncan Comrie, although I agree that results are the most important outcome, I also think that goal difference is going to be a vital element as well. Jurgen Halligan, I still think fifth. Solihull, quite an easy run-in. Ian Birchnell, Paul, your view on IB comment today that we are ahead of points last season and still seventh, whereas we ended fifth on same points. Look, I'm trying to be nice and friendly and optimistic tonight. I think it's a load of cobblers, not to put too fine a point on it. You judge the season on the season in which you are playing, and that is the table you're playing in. Got nothing to do with last season, I'd flip it the other way. If we were second in the table and had got 4 points less than last season, what would your take be then? Would you be unhappy because we got less points? We weren't as good. You play the season that you're in. You play the league table that you're in. There's not even a consideration as far as I'm concerned. Chris, that's straightforward enough for you. Chris Gosling, if we go fifth, then it's on our hands to ensure a home tie. Still think third is going to be tough to claw back. Ballum, yes, I was surprised Wrexham lost that after earlier result. It is a close league and small margins. Sharp Feetup says, I can't see any of the playoff places changing, bar maybe as getting up to fourth or fifth. Jurgen Halligan says, Halifax quite easy games apart from the last game at Stockport. Dale Pikett says, yes, I think we can. Stockport have Halifax on the last day of the season. Chris Jordan, I reckon third is possible if we don't do a notch. Chris Gosling, I don't think the top seven will change now. Grimsby coming into form again worryingly. Ian Birchinall, fair point, Paul. So you judge progress on league position. Labouring the point here. It's good job I know, Ian. Do I judge, what's my opinion matter anyway, but do I judge progress on league position? I don't think you can judge progress any other way. That's why you have a league table, isn't it? A league table based on points. What decides whether you get promoted or not? Points, not style. We're not holding up, placards 5.9, 5.9, 5.9, are we? I mean, until such point as you change a league table to a different measurement metric, I think it's the only possible way you can judge progress. Steph Marnek, I predict we will finish fifth. We will slip up. Not being negative, just realistic. Right, it's about ready time. So Paul Huskisson as Festo. Here we go. I own up. We had a bit of banter over breakfast in the morning at Torquay. I honestly thought we were going to win. My apologies. So that's Paul Huskisson with his wife and their son, who were found themselves having breakfast on the morning of the Torquay game in the same hotel as that hugely popular Torquay manager. We all know it is Mr. Johnson, Gary Johnson. And not just content with having a chat with him, Paul then posed for a selfie with him, which he posted to me later. So there you go. He's fine. He was too scared to own up to it the previous week. He's now owned up to it. So well done. Well done. Chris Gosling, what if we finish seventh and go up? Absolutely. We won the playoffs. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, ultimately, the progress of this, I can't believe we have this conversation because I think people try and create arguments to justify their own views on their manager. If we finish third or fourth, fifth, sixth, or seventh, or second, we go into the playoffs. Okay, we can finish seventh and we get promoted, then it's been a better season than last year. Unless you're saying to me we finish third and miss out on the playoffs, right? And you say it's a better silly conversation. Why do we create difficulties because of our own personal views on the manager? You know, Ballum, thoughts on Scunthorpe and Oldham going down into the league for next season too, Port and everybody? Yeah, good point. I've seen some very interesting statements coming out from those two clubs. Oldham's statement today, for those of you who have not seen it, is an absolute belter. Ballum, it will add to the difficulty of the league in going up. Chris Gosling, the progress is based on the final outcome of the season. Chris, I would say, given when you factor in playoffs or qualification for playoffs, progress is based on whether we go up or not. Yeah, Oldham and Scunthorpe being relegated. I don't know whether many of you seen it. Oh, it's a fantastic statement from Oldham saying that they are desperately going to try and get John Sheridan to re-sign for next season. He is clearly the man for Oldham, as they have lost 10 of their last 12 games. Did he set a club record for us? What was it? 10 straight defeats, I think, under Ray True, something like that. Ian Birchnell says, Paul, it was a scene from Fawlty Towers. Don't mention the war. I think that's pointing at Paul Huskerson. Steph Marley. Yeah, you've summed it up far better than me, Steph. Far better than me. And hopefully this meets, we can all agree on this, even Chris and Ian. Yeah, you summed it up much better, Steph. Progress equals promotion, nothing less. There we go. Done. Anyone wants to query me on what I consider progress, I will just get Steph to come up with a very succinct statement. He can be my official spokesperson on the Magpie Circle. No Neck Raman. How on earth do you come up with that name, please? Could you just explain to us where No Neck Raman? Am I reading it out correctly? Paul, out of the 4 in the playoffs, who would you rather play? Okay. Well, before I answer, who do we reckon? And I guarantee we're all going to go for the smallest club because we think we're bigger than them. So any preferences for playoffs teams you really would want to avoid? And let's work on the basis here that we're finishing between 4th and 7th for the playoff semi-final. Dale Pikett, I was only 9 straight defeats, was it, Dale? I'll take your word for it. And as Duncan Comrie says, at least Sheridan is consistent. Ian Birchnell, John Sheridan, football genius. Good luck, Oldham, with him in charge. Spot on, CG. Read the Oldham statement, says Chris Jordan. If you've not read it, you really should. It's quite funny, really, because Oldham talk about how they're going to plot an instant return under John Sheridan. They're going to time down to a contract, and in the next paragraph say that the ongoing, they're asking for bidders and people to buy the club, and the ongoing discussions with them. Personally, you would have thought the first thing you'd do is not do anything on the management situation until you've got the ownership sorted. I suspect they may find it difficult to sell the club. Chris Jordan, hope his kids still get Christmas presents in the National League. Yeah, I remember that. No Neck Raman. Here we go. I worked in a prison and they referred to me as having no neck and looking like a character out of He-Man, Raman. So I put them together. Oh, there we go. There we go. It's amazing what you find out on these shows, isn't it? Ian Birchnell. Daggers at home, Halifax away, Wrexham in the final. Chris Gosling, Solihull at home, for me, would be the preference in the quarters. Jurgen Halligan, Solihull would do for me. Max Seth, avoid Chesterfield away, would like Chesterfield at home. That would be a repeat, Max, of last year, wouldn't it? Dale Pikett, Chesterfield at home and Halifax in the semi-finals. David Shorter. On our day, we can beat anyone in this league. So why worry about who we play? I actually would echo that, David, to be fair. Jurgen Halligan, Daggers won't make the playoffs. Duncan Comrie, for me, I'd want to avoid Grimsby and Chesterfield in the playoffs. Chris Gosling, agree with Halifax away and Wrexham in the final two. Okay. My voice is still holding up, 45 minutes in. Chloe's still stuck in a transatlantic immigration queue. Let's talk a bit about Dover tomorrow. So I think it's fair to say we're probably not top of the Dover chairman's Christmas card list, given what he would perceive as problems we've caused him this season. Are any of us worried? Banana skin, that sort of thing. Dover went ahead away at Wrexham before losing 6-5. They were in front for a long period of the game against Chesterfield. Anyone worried about tomorrow, or are we all trusting in the process, quality of players, and that it should be a proverbial walk in the park? Cyprus ref, agree, Dave Shorter, don't care, capable of beating anybody if our attitude is right. Arsenal for life, hello to Arsenal for life. Interesting that you're joining us. It's not that Tom Gunner, that numpty off Twitter, is it? Who's an Arsenal fan and a Notts fan? Jurgen Halligan, Grimsby have won 5 out of the last 6. Don't want them. Steph Milek says, bring on any of the other playoff teams. I couldn't care less who they are. Ballum says, Dover team is mostly young players and they finally have 0 points. I did notice that. Yeah, they've got up to 0. I'm not quite sure whether it's a cause for celebration for them to get to 0, having been on -12. Anyway, you wouldn't want to lose 1-0 or something like that, for example. I was reading a stat somewhere. Dover concede on average, is it 2.35 goals a game? In Birchnell, certainly earning your money tonight. No bloody cuckoo clock. No, we're trying to hang in there. Chris Jordan, Notts need to go to win with a very professional mentality tomorrow. Go in, get the job done, and get back to Nottingham. Max F, I'm not worried about Dover, but I'm not banking on a walk in the park. In Birchnell, I'm optimistic for a win tomorrow, but won't be easy. Chris Gosling, if we turn up with the right attitude, we should win. It's not a given, but let's be serious. If we want to go up, we should be looking at nothing less than a win. Yeah, I would totally agree with those sentiments. Jurgen Halligan, didn't Dover beat us last season? Long time ago. Didn't they win on the first game of the season? 1-0. But wasn't that expunged? When they expunged Dover's record? So technically, I don't know whether you class that as a Dover win or not. Over the 90 minutes of that first game of the season, they did beat us 1-0. Members all watching it on the stream. We get done by a corner, if memory serves. Cyprus ref, only worry is the water, and their ghetto blaster has no batteries, possibly packet of crisps for after match meal. I don't get all of that, but I get the gist. Steph Milek, I have every confidence Notts will win tomorrow. I don't think it will be a walk in the park, but they will get the win. I'd take a 1-0, no problem. Chris Gosling, officially we did play them last season. Jurgen, David Shorter, wonder if Dover will water the pitch. Ian Birchnell, freshening the team could work in our favour as players coming in have a shirt to keep. Now, there you go. This is my philosophy, particularly as we're in the National League, and I'm travelling to Dover for the 3rd time. I will be walking back to my travel lodge down the hill. That's a big improvement, because when you walk up it, it's a bloody long way from Dover Priory Railway Station. So when I will be walking back down that long road to my Dover travel lodge at 9:45 tomorrow, very, very happy if we win 1-0 with a 95th minute goal. 3 points. No tells. Not worried about us beating them 5-0, 4-0, 3-0, 2-0. I'm going down there. I will judge it solely on us getting the 3 points. It's not a low estimation. It's just kind of the way I view things, you know. Chris Jordan, I just hope the tide's not high tomorrow as they call it off at 7:44. I just hope we're going to be all right tomorrow. There's no rhyme or reason to say that we shouldn't win it and win it comfortably, but you know, Wrexham said that and Chesterfield said that when they played Dover. I'm reminded of a few weeks ago before Torquay. If you remember, one of the guests that we had on the show, Kevin Nicholson, he spoke about how you will get a lot of very bizarre and unusual results and performances in the closing stages of the season, with players playing for contracts, playing for their futures. And it would appear that Dover have gone down a route of very young players this season. I'd suspect most of them are on 1-year contracts. So their performances at the end of the season will have a big bearing to play on whether they get a new contract at their existing club, or where with other clubs watching them, other clubs will look to take them at on the expiry of their existing contract. So, you know, you can get freak results. You can get freak results. But you would like to think it will be pretty steady. Now then, the comments are drying up. Chloe has clearly been impounded by immigration. So I'm looking to wrap up shortly. Any more comments you have got, fire them in. Chris Gosling says, I thought Arter looked off the pace Saturday, so I'd be tempted to rest him and bring Vinny or Jim in to add some energy in the middle of the park. It's a fair point. Cyprus Ref. Yep, 1-0, 95th minute winner. Ricochet off Cairo's backside. Yeah, Jurgen Halligan. Chloe's in the pub. Well, I don't think she is. She may well be. I don't know. Any other thoughts or observations? I've been yagging non-stop 52 minutes, which actually, believe it or not, is a long time for me. Thank you very much for all your participation tonight. We'll be back Wednesday. We should have Mark Stallard on. Mark will obviously be travelling down tomorrow. And we will be able to debrief from Dover and then look ahead to the weekend trip to Aldershot. Ian Birchinall thought our second goal Saturday was a superb team move. Best team goal for a while, says Chris Jordan. One thing, do you reckon Derby might be after Kyle? David Shutter, have a drink, Paul, you deserve it. I'll have one tomorrow in my travel lodge with 3 points in the bin. How about that? Balham, I've never been to Nottingham, and is the stadium near the restaurant Hooters? It is the only Hooters, believe it or not, in the UK, Balham. Yes, very close. Come up on the train, have a few jars in Hooters, and then it's about a 400-yard walk to Meadow Lane. You don't want to go any further because you go the wrong side of the river there. In Birchinall, see you tomorrow, Paul, subject to weather. Chris Gosling saw Derby had scouts there Saturday, did they? Max Seth, safe trip, Paul, see you in Dover. Certainly, I mean, respect to everyone that is making the trip down to Dover. For those of you going on the various coaches, I lose track of the different strands of our supporters groups that run coaches. ACCO's coach, official club coach, official supporters association coach, supporters club coach. Anyway, all of you, it's a magnificent effort. I must admit, I do quite like my creature comforts. And I got a cheap first class ticket for 19 quid each way to Dover. So I'm quite happy with that. For those of you spending 8 hours on a coach, well done. Above and beyond, above and beyond. thank you very much indeed for tonight. Apologies, you've had to just put up with a monologue from me. I've not quite made the hour. I've done 54 minutes, so I think that's plenty long enough to listen to me non-stop. I will see all of you that are making the trip down to Dover. I think I shall stand unless it's raining. I think you pay an extra £1.50 for the seats, don't you? Just down the side. Dale Pikey says they're building a Hooters at Salford Quays. Are they really? Chris Gosling, they can't afford to buy tea for the canteen, Chris, so only be a free transfer they're looking for. I think that's aimed at Derby. So thank you very much indeed for listening in tonight. We'll be back on Wednesday, should be with Mark Stallard. Thank you again for listening in tonight, and look forward to catching up with you all again very, very soon. Take care for now. Bye-bye.